lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and back doing another indie creator spotlight. This time, I'm talking to the amazing Wesley Griffith. Welcome to the show, dude.
Happy to be here, Ryan.
Hell yeah, dude! I finally got to meet you in person at IC Theater. I've been a fan. I've been like seeing your work for a long time. I'm glad that I was finally able to get some stuff from you, The Jump, Thunder Beast. But that's not all you do. You got some other great projects we'll get into. But meeting you at IC Theater was a blast. We did that '90s panel,
That was
which
so much fun.
yeah. I mean, I always love talking the '90s because like that's a formative time for me. So
Yeah.
it's cool hearing other people's experience. Some people maybe a little bit younger, some people a little bit older than me, but I think what comes across with all of us is that we all loved '90s comics for sure. Depending on which ones we liked. So super stoked to be able to kind of talk to you a little bit more personally about yourself, and we can even get into how like the '90s influenced you as well. But I always like to ask everybody the first time they're on the channel, like what started your love for comic books?
Having an older brother, like he was the one, my brother Drew, he had like a pretty good and very a varied comic collection. Most of it was kind of the image stuff like Spawn, and then the other stuff was Dark Horse. We were both, or well, he in particular was a big fan of Aliens and the Star Wars movies, and by virtue of the fact of, growing up and living with him, I was too. Like my first memory of the Alien franchise wasn't the movies at all. It was the comics. Like I saw those Dark Horse comics first.
Hmm.
And then because of growing up with as a Star Wars fan and, pre 1999, it was just those three movies. That was it. And then all the rest, if you were hungry for more, you'd had to get it from like those Dark Horse comics, which are amazing. I was just recently talking about the Cam Kennedy like Dark Empire book, which to me will always be this is what happens after Return of the Jedi. It's such an amazing book.
Yeah, I could fall down a rabbit hole talking about the Dark Horse
Yeah,
Star
I'm
Wars,
sorry I brought up Star
but
Wars.
no, it's
I was
okay.
think
It's
as
okay.
I was
But
talking, I was like, what am I doing?
I
Like,
know I was literally just thinking in my mind all the great Star Wars comics that came for that. Not to say anything against the stuff that Marvel's done, but I feel like they play it way more safe. Like they don't really expand on much, like they could, like what Dark Horse did. Dark Horse like fully went like this is what comes next. Like that's the stuff I want to know. I want to know about the eras. I don't want to know in between episodes 4 and 5. Like that's fine. Like they do a little bit of that stuff, but like all the Mara Jade, all the Timothy Zahn stuff that they adapted. Like, I mean, my God, dude, it's so good. And then the like Star Wars Legacy, Knights of the Old Republic, those series were fantastic too.
yeah, like the stuff that came before too, like the Tales of the Jedi comics, where like
Yes.
the setting was like, this isn't a prequel. This is thousands of years before Obi-Wan Kenobi was born. I'm like, holy shit. And they're almost like fantasy books in a weird way that just happen to have, I mean, well, Star Wars is a fantasy story, but either way, even more fantastical which is awesome. Yeah, those are really rad books.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Well, then what from there, like when you're collecting comics, you got to choose. Like, it's cool that your older brother did. I did the same thing for my little brother. When did you start like drawing? When did you like figure out like this is something that you may want to pursue, like moving forward? Like, who were the influences?
The
It,
biggest one was coming across Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes. That comic really blew my mind and was very, very special to me because I discovered it at the time I was 6 or 7 and was developing like my brain to like read on my own time, not as a something being assigned to me because, we have to learn to read for school. This
Mhm.
was something for my own personal joy that I was going to read whenever I had the free time to. And if I had trouble with some word I didn't understand, then fuck it, because the artwork was so beautiful to look at that it seemed really important to understand all of it, the words too, because before you know how to read and you enjoy comics, you're just kind of looking at it for the visuals. Oddly enough, before I knew how to read, like at a very young age, like I had like the first trade of Saga of the Swamp Thing. And
Oh
like,
shit.
yeah, which is, a crazy comic to give to a kid, but I didn't really know how to read. So as far as I was concerned, it just seemed like, oh, this is like a monster book. then you read Alan Moore's crazy writing as I got older. I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize this book was this crazy. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, Calvin and Hobbes was huge, and then because I loved it so much, you want to make your bad version of the comics, the thing you love. So I remember early on trying to draw like, I don't know, some character that was like another kid that was sort of like a ersatz Calvin or something like that. And then I don't know, it just n never went away. It was almost like my anger of how bad I was at drawing fueled me
Mhm.
do it more and more. And then as I got older, I got even luckier. When I was in middle school, I met, or no, sorry. Well, we met in middle school, but then in high school, a friend of mine, Rob, in the early 2000s in my high school in Scottsdale, Arizona, there were no other comic book fans. Like I really did not meet other people my age that were into them as much as I was, except one guy, my friend Rob Barnett. And he not only liked comics, but he knew how to draw well, better than me. And he told me about a class that he took at the Scottsdale Community College, and he said you should go. And then I went, and then from there, like I don't know, got more serious about it and gained a further understanding of how to make my own comics and everything. Kind of since then, with a lot of deviations between in my early 20s, has been all about trying to get better at it.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I didn't have anybody for sure when I was reading comics. I think I like it
It's a
took me
lonely
well.
existence.
It is, dude. Like I mean, I obviously got my brother into comics, so like I could talk with him, but it's like we also we're 11 years apart. So there's a
Mm.
very big gap of like what he was wanting to read. Like we read a lot of the same stuff when it's superhero stuff, but like it's kind of cool on the flip side as he got older, he's the one that pushed me to read Love and Rockets. Like I knew of Love
Uh,
and Rockets, but I just for whatever reason didn't pick it up. And then he looked at me one day, he's like, Ryan, you have to pick this book up. It's gonna change your life. And I was like, oh, whatever. Come on, it's gonna
yeah.
change my life. And he's right. It like completely like almost like reignited a love that didn't go away. Because I don't know about you, but like comics I've never fully left. There may be moments where I'm reading less, or maybe I'm not picking stuff up and
Yeah.
I'm only reading my old shit.
If it really gets you, you never leave. Not really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when I hear people saying they didn't read comics for like 5, 6 years, I'm like, God, I feel bad.
You're like,
I
what's
feel,
wrong with you?
yeah, like why would you do something like that, dude? I get
Yeah,
like girls getting involved, or on the flip side, if you're a young girl and you're reading comic books, guys become involved or
sure.
whatever, whoever you're into. But still,
Yeah.
like, I just can't imagine ever fully not reading comic books. So I'm assuming
Well,
that that's the case for you. You've never fully left comics.
no, I've always enjoyed collecting. I don't know if there was ever maybe yeah, maybe there were some years where I did it less, but then I don't know, by the time like after I became 16, uh, and from meeting Rob and then meeting these other fellow like young cartoonists that were taking this community college class, one of them is still like they're all like a lot of them like remained like my dear close friends till now. My friend Andy Costello, like he's this big nerd like I am, and like him and I are going to be friends until like we're dead. So as long like that's so therefore like what am I always going to talk about with my best friend? Well, comics. So like there I don't know, as long there yes. So as long as I want this man to be my friend, like there's no reason for comics to ever leave my life.
I have to ask, like, was Wizard ever a part of your comic book reading?
Oh,
Because I don't think we
bro.
got into that. I don't think we got into that at that 90s panel. And I feel like I want to start asking people that because
Oh yeah. I mean I mean like there was pre-cartoonist kayfabe, like there was like nothing. Like it was so and like I like and so anyway, sorry. Yeah, yes, I was an avid wizard reader, but I came to it kind of late. Like my wizard reading experience was like not during the 90s like boom, really. It was
yeah,
sort
mine
of
too.
it would have been the early
84. 84
2000s.
was mine. So mine was like 98. So you're early 2000. Okay, so you're a little bit after me then.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was right around. Okay, here we go. Now I remember. My peak ultimate like wizard reading experience begins with when Mark Millar's Ultimates was happening. It was around that time because that like it's funny to think now and kind of quaint, but that was like this exciting thing that was happening. The Ultimates universe was like Ultimate Spider-Man. I was just talking to my friend Andy on the phone about this recently. That was my Spider-Man reading experience. Like in middle school, that was like my I was like, oh cool. Now I finally have a fucking issue one to like jump off of this story that I already knew,
Hmm.
right? But it felt it was new and fresh for me to go into, and I enjoyed all that. Well, not all that Ultimate stuff, but Ultimate Spider-Man was a great like reading experience. Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley really did something special, in my opinion, with that book. The beginning of it.
Yeah, I no complaints with the early Ultimate stuff. I think eventually it just got like to be
It
too
be,
much. I think it
yeah,
like obviously like the whole point of it was to like have an easy continuity to jump into, and then
yeah,
it had its own continuity after you have hundreds of issues of each series. Ultimate
yeah.
X-Men to me was like really great. I think it was at the time. I mean, it was crazy because you had Morrison's X-Men and Ultimate X-Men out at the same time. Like
What a
that was
time.
all I know. And then you had J. Michael Straczynski, whatever you want to say about his run, got weird. But his
Yeah.
run in the beginning was really good, and like I'm still picturing I can picture the shop that's no longer there of me like I was in I think eighth grade, all that stuff coming out. And it was like it was a pretty good time. I mean, people don't
It
talk
was
about it enough, but there's
it
a
was
lot of good
great.
comics.
I don't know, people like yeah, early 2000s was like that was my favorite. That well, I and granted maybe it's rose tinted glasses for me because it was all very new to me at the time. Because of course, like being a kid, you grow up seeing all the Marvel stuff, but that's all sort of like kids merchandise is your love of it. You like Spider-Man because he's a cool fucking toy and a fun cartoon to watch. And
Hmm.
then as an emotional, vulnerable middle schooler, you're like, wait, like the character of Peter Parker I'm reading is it's like this is like I become invested in his romances and trials and tribulations and want that little guy to win. Yeah, it was just it was really cool. I remember my friend Rob and they did like a what if issue of Wizard of like what if DC had an ultimate universe and they
Oh, I remember that article.
yeah, and I love we were this that blew our minds. They're like, oh man, like just what if they did this? And it was I don't know. I at the time it was like the coolest thing ever. I still remember those illustrations
Oh,
vividly.
I
Can't remember who
can't.
drew it though.
Neither can I, but I remember
You know what
that
I'm talking
article
about?
so well. I remember that article. I can't remember what issue it is because like I feel I hate that I did this. I purged all my wizards at one point, and I
Yeah.
just like got rid of them. I'm like I can't keep moving these things around. I haven't looked at them in years. And then kayfabe happened, and I was
The
like,
things
fuck,
you never realize are like mistakes for letting go.
yeah, dude.
One of the biggest mistakes of a book that I let go was the Chip Kid Batman animated book, which is super hella expensive now, and you just can't get it, and it's never going to be. Chip Kid even said on Twitter, like, this is not ever going to be reprinted. I want to, we can't do it. And I used to be a book in my life. I used to hold it, smell it, and flip through it and love it, and it's gone now. And I don't know. Maybe one day I'll want to scoop
I
up
gotta
a book.
say never, dude. They
Yeah, yeah,
also said we would never see a reprint of JLA Avengers again. They did that. I know that, George Perez passed, and that's what made them re-release the trade. But then they also said we'd never see these Marvel versus DC crossovers collected or the amalgam stuff collected, and now they're doing it. So
true.
maybe, start a
I'm not
petition or something.
familiar with all of that. Why did they say that those were never going to be recollected just because of rights or
I
something?
think because like they don't want to split profits or they don't want to like who how do you decide who's printing it? I think that would I mean I could be wrong, but that's
Mhm.
kind of what I heard. It's because like I own the rights to this, you own the rights to that. It's like I think the legalities of it and they didn't want to share the like I don't want to say spotlight, but that was just always the problem of why they never released it. And they also said they're never going to re-release JLA Avengers again. Like they did it specifically for that, and all the money went to charity. Like it wasn't,
Interesting.
you weren't
Okay.
allowed to share it. I mean, you weren't allowed to store it or sell it in your store for profit or something like that. I feel like, I don't know, I could be remembering this wrong, but yeah, you never know. Sometimes
Yeah,
they fucking like they realize how dumb it is to not republish stuff, because there's a
sure.
market for it. So, but anyways, so at what point do you start working on your own comic books?
I want to say 2015, I uh a lot of just personal sort of like living life and like having not drawn in a long time kind of put me in this state of just like let me just like make a project that I want to do and finish it. And it was really my friend Dan, who's a musician. He asked like, do you want to like do like kind of a comic and like we can put it out under my like my record label or have like it something to do with that? And I said, man, there is an idea I have where it can tie to music and like be like work thematically with that. And it's called Radio Jupiter. Basically the story, it's about an intergalactic DJ um living in the future, flying through space, but the Earth has been destroyed, and so all artifacts that are from the Earth are very valuable, and especially records and music and things like that. So it's about this space hopping record collector is the
So
concept of Radio Jupiter, and he broadcasts the music that he collects in his like pirate radio station slash starship.
that's sick.
Yeah, it's
And
available for free on my Global Comics account. I haven't reprinted it yet. I don't know if I will because the lettering on it is like rough. Like I didn't know how to do that yet. So
so then from there, is it like a consistent thing where you're working on comics? Like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you have a full-time job that requires you. I mean,
um
that's how you pay the bills.
yeah, I have a full-time job that
Yeah.
pays like the bills and whatnot. And from there, from 2015, then like after that, I moved back home to Arizona and I went to design school because I was kind of like, I don't know, I was working a bunch of jobs I didn't like, and I kind of came to this conclusion of just like I need to make like better money and do a job I enjoy doing instead of working in grocery stores and food and beverage jobs that I hate. So, and I wanted to have a career where I was constantly making things. So I thought like, even if I don't do comics, being a graphic designer, at least like that's involved in a creative process that like has a result of something.
Hmm.
And uh from there ultimately like in a weird way like just like uh choosing graphic design as a college major was just an excuse. I'm like, I want to learn how to make my own books and design my own books so I don't have to rely on anybody except myself, and learn how to color my own comics, which was something I knew nothing about, and literally kind of just through design school taught myself to color them on Photoshop. It's never been consistent. It's always either been design school or jobs or something that sort of takes precedence, unfortunately. But a little bit at a time, I try to chip away at them and get what I can get done, and always try to finish my projects when I start them.
For sure, dude. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love your design, like your cover design is super like eye-catching for sure. Like, I mean, I got Thunder Beast right here. You got the Jump over here as well. When do you start working on these projects, and like how often are you putting stuff out at this point past like, in between jobs and stuff? Like when does Thunder Beast out came first, correct?
Thunderbeast was first. Thunderbeast is I call it like the first of the post kayfabe comics because I came to that channel, the cartoonist kayfabe channel, in during the pandemic of the summer of 2020, and I was I mean fortunately and unfortunately I was stuck at my parents' place and was out of a job and couldn't really go anywhere else. And because of watching the channel, it inspired me. I was like, you know what, like you're not getting any younger. I kind of wanted to make like something like a big, like large project, like something of a graphic novel. Well, it wasn't intended to be a graphic novel. Originally, I wanted it to be like a 9 by 13 treasury sized like newsprint comic. But that's not easy to come by to print for just like one person doing it all by themselves. It just kind of became the book that you have now. And after I found a job in San Diego, I moved from out of my parents' place to an apartment and then just kind of got right to work because I had storyboarded the entire or not storyboarded, but laid out the entire comic in little tiny thumbnail
Hmm.
drawings. It's kind of weird the way I did that book. Like I did all the thumbnail drawings of the visuals first and then like Marvel methoded it by myself. And I was like, all right, now let's figure out what these characters like are saying to each other. Like I knew all the action beats that I wanted to happen and sort of a vague idea of what the characters were in my head and all the visual stuff and then all the stuff and words and plotting that I needed to happen sort of came afterwards because that stuff's boring to me.
Yeah. It's interesting. I like that you say it's the post kayfabe. So I mean, like I think you, like many others, probably a lot of people that we were with at, IC3, were definitely inspired to either start again or motivated to keep chugging along in terms of, producing comic books. But, how influential was that for you at that time? Like, did that, I mean, obviously you were probably always drawing, but like, did that just like light this fire in you to just like keep doing more and more, because you've produced quite a bit since that time, since you did Thunder Beast, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Like
Yeah.
that was, and then also the channel was so great for, turning uh my brain and other people's brains onto like comics they hadn't really checked out before. Like I was never a Dan Klaus guy. And then Fantagraphics finally released that big 8 ball soft cover book and I was like, okay, I can finally read this thing for a decent price and
Mhm.
read through all of 8 ball and kind of was like, well, shoot, now I want to make my own little one-man anthology book, and that's what Grotesque number 1 through 3 is. And I don't really know. Well, the jump kind of just came from like I've always liked crime comics, and I'm a big Frank Miller fan, and
Dude,
I'm also
this cover,
kind of
bro.
thank you. I also knew because of the channel. I'm new. Well, not because of the channel, actually. There was another comic podcast that was talking about Stray Bullets. I'm late to that party as well. I came to Stray Bullets finally. I was like, wow, that book is all the kind
Phenomenal.
thing. If anyone watching this is has not read Stray Bullets yet, every kind word you've heard about it is absolutely true.
I second that. I
Yeah,
have to talk
worth.
about it on the channel. I mean, I also was very late to that, and I
Yeah,
wish I came to it sooner also, dude, because it is amazing.
like it would like I read it for the first time 2 years ago. Like that's
Mhm.
how late it, like very, very recent. And my man, oh man, that book is great. Yeah, I think it was the jump came about because I wanted to do something long and I wanted to have like a large ensemble cast. That was something I'd been playing with for a while, and something that was set in the real world, quote unquote, that
Mhm.
wasn't like a fantasy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, I mean, and what's the choice between, because I really dig this, like how you have, I mean, we'll talk about it when we do our creator commentary, which we're going to be doing soon too, but you do most of your stuff in black and white. Is there a reason behind that? Do you prefer to work in black and white
I
as opposed to
do.
doing color?
I think it's funny we didn't talk about manga yet, but like I love like when I was a kid, like I kind of came across manga in 1997 and it like just the idea they were black and white like kind of blew my mind. That was so uncommon to see in the United States that it seemed like subversive to see a black and white comic.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just enjoy it. I think it's a really great visual reading experience because you're very close to what the artist has originally drawn when you're viewing black and white comic book art. It's almost it's the next best thing to an artist edition.
I agree for
Yeah.
sure, dude. Yeah, you mentioned coming late to some of those other books. I didn't read manga till about 5 years ago.
Oh man. Okay, wait a minute. This
Yeah,
is interesting. So
yeah.
like what's manga day one for you 5 years ago?
What was the book that finally got me to read? It was a Naoki Urasawa, and it
Okay.
was 20th Century Boys.
Okay. Haven't read it, but cool.
It's amazing. It's really good. My buddy at the shop I was working at, like I knew he was super into manga. He was the manager when I was working there, and I mean, still is. But I finally was like, I kept seeing like all these like different titles, and I was like, hey, dude, like, could you recommend me something? And so he did, and he was like, you should read this. And then I read that. I read Monster. I read Berserk, and then I just like fell down the rabbit hole. I read Berserk. I read some number one volumes. Obviously, I haven't read like complete series, but I read some Full Metal Alchemist.
Hmm.
Just a mix of obviously Junji Ito. I fucking love Junji Ito stuff. Like that's next level stuff. And even Akira, dude, I was very late. I was very
Yeah.
late to that, you know, and like I don't like I saw the anime,
Hmm.
but I just
Yeah.
never read the manga. Like it's for some and not because like I didn't want to or I had this like stigma against it. I just like I said, I was alone in my comic book reading. So it's not like I
Hmm.
had anybody else in my life that's like, hey, you should read this. My comic shops weren't recommending it to me.
Yeah.
So, and that's how, you know, at that age when you're by yourself, it was either Wizard Magazine
Yep.
that I would see stuff in online, I guess, and then you know recommendations from your shop. So it really took somebody kind of you know forcing. Also, the kayfabe channel like
Yeah.
made me fall down a rabbit hole with you know Fist of the North Star. Like there's so many mangas that I still have to read, but it's like I don't have enough hours in the day, you know, or
I
enough dollars in the bank, you know,
yeah.
to buy all that stuff.
I really love that. I've been thinking about Fist of the North Star and its place in the United States lately, and I really love that comic has gone from like so bad it's good kind of meme culture making fun of it
Hmm.
to like now people are really like, no, wait, like Tetsuro Hara's artwork is beautiful and we have to appreciate it as this like grand like art project, which it is.
It is
And like,
amazing.
yeah, I love it. I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, dude, it's phenomenal. So besides you know, like you mentioned like growing up, like who was inspiring, but like are you and you just said Dan Klaus is somebody you're new to, David
Mhm.
Lapham. So are besides those two, or is there anybody else that like you're kind of pulling from now that are influencing you?
Definitely like I because of the channel I read Julio's Day recently and I really love Gilbert Hernandez's artwork and oh, it's next to me over here, but like I've come very late to Archie. I got like a collection of like the Archie Americana series, the best of the 60s and 70s, and I'm looking through that and I'm like, there's an argument to be made that this artwork is more informative for making comics than like how to draw comics the Marvel way. It's so clean, it's so charming and precise, and there's absolutely no bullshit in it. Like I
Yeah.
look at every panel in those comics and it's like I don't know, it's really it's really great the things that Harry Lucy and Dan DeCarlo are pulling off in those books.
Dude, both of those names are good. I'm lucky enough to be able to pick up the fucking Harry Lucy because those hardcover, the like best of, those things are
Yeah.
fucking so expensive now. And the only reason I got them when I did was because of kayfabe. Like I read Archie as a kid. I'd pick up
Yeah.
Archie. I pick up all of the titles, you know, because they at that time, you know, there's newsstands, there's bookstores, there's fucking 7-Elevens. Everywhere had a fucking comic book. So if that's what they had, I'm like, Mom, I need, you know, something to
Yeah.
read right now, you know? So I love Archie. I think that's a good call out too. I don't often hear people mention it except you know, my buddy, you know, Craig CK from that I know from the group as well.
Yeah,
He's a
dude,
huge Archie head.
it's so great and like I'm, 35 years old, new to it of this book that's massive and has existed for decades even prior to the 60s and 70s stuff and I jump
Over
right
yeah,
yeah,
over 80 years.
and I jump right in and I'm like, oh, I get it immediately. Like I don't need catch up. Like you understand exactly what all the character dynamics and like what this town is. It's so good.
Yeah, I love picking up the old ones too. So good on you for getting like the decades ones. I haven't picked any of those up, but like if I see old Archie, I immediately pick it up. Plus, I love the smell of newsprint, so I'm
Yeah.
always gonna try to get those. But
Yeah.
so what are you currently working on then right now? I saw that you recently posted your the Jump 3 is gonna be serialized on Instagram. Is that how you
Y-
did the first two?
Yeah, I just really like giving things away for free digitally. It's just sort of like, I don't know, a really good way to the get everything out there and then hopefully that builds up enough I don't know, audience trust or love for to, throw down money for the print edition. I don't know. I also like to see what uh how people are engaging with it, if they enjoy it. And I one of the things, one of the aspects of the design of the Jumps page layout was that I had Instagram in mind, and prior to it, I had posted several comics as daily comics on Instagram. Like the Grotesque issue 3 is comprised of two stories, Love Language and After Six. They're both horror stories that involve graphic designers as protagonists. And after I completed both of those, I posted both of them, each page daily, with the panels broken up on Instagram. And I really liked that method of delivering the story to the audience. And I wanted to do it for the Jump. I think there's a lot of potential for daily comics on Instagram because of the slider. And so anyway, sorry. The reason why the layout for the Jump is like a 6 panel grid is so that it can like fit for that
Dude,
box format.
I didn't even think about that because I didn't read it on Instagram. Um, I read them for the first time in print, and like it
Hmm.
just like I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, how did I not pick up on that? But it is perfect because like it's exactly Instagram size, except for those like full page with the guns and stuff. But that shit's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, I mean, I like breaking it up too.
yeah.
All the splash pages are my favorite because those are the days where I'm like, oh, cool, I just get to draw one thing, not six.
That's interesting too. So is that how you? Because like, do you wait till they're completed, or are you? Yeah, you wait till it's completed before you start posting, or you're trying
Yeah.
you post. Okay.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. Because you never know what can happen. I once the final page is drawn and scanned in, usually I draw them, and then as they're finished, you know what? I have today's page. Page 1 is posted today. So here's the original artboard that I drew it on. Once this is all done, penciled and inked, I throw it on my scanner over there, put it into the computer, clean it up, and just save it as a TIFF file, and then just have all those TIFF files saved until the very, very last one is finished, and then I break all the individual panels up in Photoshop as separate layers for Instagram. It's a very tedious process. I
Yeah,
got
it
done with
sounds
it.
tedious.
It
Yeah.
sucks. I hate it so much, and I got done with it the day before yesterday. And I was so happy. So it's funny you're asking me right now, like, what am I working on? I was like, honestly, like after this recording, I'm gonna go work in the garden with my girlfriend and be outside because this the past 2 weeks have been a mad dash to finish the last finish drawing and inking the last like 6 or 7 pages of this thing because we're gonna be going on a little vacation soon. So I wanted to make sure I was done with it. And yeah, this issue 3 went kind of long. The rest of them are 24 pages. This one ended up being 36, and then I added like 2 splash pages to make the page count 40 for the print edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I'm really excited for this one. This is a everyone that's checking out the Jump right now on Instagram is in for a fucking ride for sure.
Dude, go pick up the other issues for real. Like this book like blew me away. I absolutely love your style. And I was gonna ask you, but you already answered it because you showed me the original art. But I love that you're drawing traditionally too.
I
And
don't.
the inking kind of is reminiscent to me of like little Charles Burns.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Charles Burns fan.
Okay, all right.
He's a big influence on some of these night scenes that are going to be happening in this book. Like I was like, okay, I want to have this scene set in like a forest type area at night. Who's good at that? Oh, Charles fucking Burns. That's who. So I grabbed my like copy of Black Hole and was taking a look at that. So I don't know. That's such a great book.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That's
Again, my brother. That was another
yeah.
little brother recommendation. Man. I really got to call him and thank him because he's
That's one
off.
of those books I was thinking about in my head, like what are great comics to give to people that have never read them. Black Hole is like definitely one of them for me.
Yeah, I highly agree with that. I think too, for me, I would say Love and Rockets is
Yeah.
another good one. And then honestly, Stray Bullets is not
Yeah.
a bad one either because, I think so many people when they hear comic books, and it's not their fault that they think of it this way.
Yeah.
But the majority of people, unless they're fans, just think superheroes. They just think, oh, it's
Right.
Marvel, DC. And then they can't even separate the superheroes from their own universes where they're like, oh yeah, Superman is Marvel or whatever. No, no, it's not, you know? But yeah, I love recommending comics. Like I've been trying to get my wife to read comics for a fucking long time.
I've been trying to get my girlfriend to read some too, and I thought I could do it with Julio's Day because I was like, come on, like this will work. Come on, it'll be really quick. But I mean, no shade. I know she will eventually.
Yeah, I'll keep wearing her down, dude. We've been together for a little over 10 years and I'm not gonna stop. So I told
Yeah.
her, she's like, you need to stop asking me. I'm like,
I
yeah,
try
no,
to
I
like
don't.
bar I try to like bargain too. It's like come on, like I'll watch all of Gilmore Girls with you next fall. I know you like love that or something.
It's a good show. I'm
You're a
not
fan.
gonna lie.
Oh, really?
It is a really good show. The writing on that show is next level, and not to mention the fact that there's at least two times you'll see a comic book in there. There's one time you'll see an issue of Hate, and another time you'll see an issue of Eight Ball. One of the guys is
Really?
yeah. So
Okay.
they're definitely fans. The writers definitely have to be fans of comic books or something
Yeah.
for
There's a
sure.
game like I know we're going off on a tangent
Yeah,
right
well,
now, and
it's fine.
I'll end it quickly, but like there's this fun game that we play every time we watch like any TV show or a movie, my girlfriend will recognize some actor, and the game is always like, does she know him from Gilmore Girls or does she know him from Grey's Anatomy?
That's
Because
hilarious.
like everyone and their mother has been on either of those shows.
You're not wrong, dude. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back, I watched it recently. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. I think it's a great show.
I'll watch
The
it. Like I've yeah.
the new one where they like not where they come back like years later, that one
Hmm.
was like they didn't need to do it, but the
Yeah.
original show is like really good. Like the quips, dude. Like the one-liners that are in there just are hilarious to me. And
Yeah.
I think Bendis has even talked about that show, if I remember correctly. I feel like
Yeah.
I've heard him mention that show for sure.
I like this is the first year of my girlfriend and I living in this house, and like during the fall season that's her jam, that's what she does, and as she was watching it all throughout the like around October, I live with her, so I'd come around and like into the living room and like check out an episode or two, and like I get it, like it's very aesthetically pleasing and like charming. It's the Archie thing where you're kind of like
Yeah.
you pop into it and you're like, oh, I get it. Like immediate, you know what this world is and the rules of it.
Yep.
There's
And I
something
it's
comforting
funny.
about that.
Also, fall is the best time to watch that show. Fall and like
It's
winter. I
her
don't know.
thing.
It's that little town, dude. It's got that like vibe to it that just feels like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's a great show. I've gone completely off on a tangent,
Sorry.
but it is comics adjacent because there is an issue of Hate and there is an issue of fucking Eight Ball in that
Yeah.
fucking show. So I don't feel bad talking about it. But how long does it usually take you from start to finish? I know you said you're about to take a break, but do you have like within yourself, like obviously you're doing these for you. You don't have anybody telling you you need to have it done by a certain time, but do you have personal deadlines where you're like, I want to at least do maybe this many pages or maybe this many comics within a year span, and then you kind of figure out like based on that how often you need to or like when you're gonna take breaks and stuff like that.
Yeah. A good week, while in the middle of an issue of the jump is like finishing like, and I know this is, I don't know, so I feel guilty for saying this when I think of like how prolific some other artists, especially manga artists are, but like a good week for me is like finishing like with work and everything is finishing like 2 pages penciled and inked at like minimum,
Okay.
which is yeah, I don't know. I'm not the quickest artist in the world either. It takes me a while.
I mean, dude, it's like, hey,
No.
you're also working full time. So it's
Yeah.
like I was just curious like how long it usually takes you.
Yeah.
When you finish a project, you said you're taking a break. Like
I don't
uh,
know how long. I mean, the break is just because, like, we have a vacation lined up, and then,
mhm.
like, it won't be long. Like, right now, like, the first order of business is like, and I know exactly how I want issue 4 to begin. It's just figuring out the rest of it. Actually, speaking of process stuff, one of the things before I moved was like I kind of like because I the jump began as an idea before we moved, and then I sort of like wanted to hammer it out what it was before that so I could have a good idea and get started once we moved here and got everything set up. And so basically the entire plot from start to finish is all like sort of outlined here. And then once like an issue is finished, it's sort of just referring back to this sort of vague plot outline to sketch and out like and do page layouts in like a sketchbook, and then from there go to the final like art boards and
Very
get
cool. And are
drawn
you
and inking.
do you jump back and forth between projects? Because I know you, like you said, you're doing the grotesque. Is that like, are you working on it at the same time, or do you go back like flip flop, or you just whatever you're feeling at the moment is what
No,
you're working on?
grotesque is kind of like in a dormant state right now. Right now, it's all sort of the jump, which I don't know. I don't feel too bad about. I love working on the jump a lot actually,
For
because
sure.
yeah, it's one consistent story. Grotesque is kind of like I finish it and then I'm like, well, back to square one. What's a new weird thing that can fucking happen?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited for all the stuff you got coming out. I got to get those issues of Grotesque for sure because I just fucking love your stuff, dude. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I was just wondering if you want to share any Rex, anything you're reading right now that you want that you've been digging or whatever that you want to recommend to people.
Everyone should read Archie. No, but yes, but what am I reading now? Oh, you know what? Santos Sisters, by Greg and Fake Petre. That is the best superhero comic that's out right now. That's a really good one.
I love
And
that, dude. It is a really great book.
and they are
So
so generous. I love their system of having artists getting ads in their comic. I've done it, and it's awesome. I love those guys.
that's awesome, dude. I love that recommendation. And
Yeah.
everybody go pick up Archie for sure. Read some Archie and go pick up Santo Sisters. Go pick up all of Wesley's stuff. I'm gonna drop all those links down below of where people can find you. And thank you so much, dude, for taking time to chat some comics with me.
Yeah, man, Ryan, this is awesome. Thank you so much.